The state of gaming. Let's see.
Afternoon, my fellow gamers. As all of you know, I am one of you. I am an avid enjoyer of gaming. It's been a huge part of my life for my entire life. It's in my veins, it's in my blood, it's embedded deep in my DNA. My body isn't powered by a heart, it's powered by another graphics card. It's a 4090 in here that's keeping this flesh mech suit online.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of cringe in 23 seconds. That's impressive. Okay.
Like Tony Stark, but nerdier. Anyway, I feel as though I'm the only one qualified to give you the State of Gaming address for 2024.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of groaning and moaning, a lot of whining and complaining, a bunch of hoo-wee and hoo.
That's my favorite, bro. That's my favorite. And a lot of negativity and shitting. Oh, that makes me smile.
And yeehaw about gaming industry is dying. It's this festering wound. It needs, needs a huge change.
I think that has been always. There's a lot of bad things currently happening, true, but there's a lot of amazing things that are happening.
This and that. And while I agree with some of the sentiment, I actually think there are signs that the industry is going in a better direction overall. And I'll explain what I mean, but I want to start with something obvious. A lot of the $70 games we've been getting recently are just terrible.
True.
Not even worth playing, definitely not worth paying $70 for, such as Suicide Squad, and most recently, the first...
Oh god, I'm sad that someone even bought that game.
Quadruple A game, according to Ubisoft, Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones is amazing. How dare you?
Suicide Squad has flopped. Its player count has plummeted to under 1,000 players on Steam, and this is a live service game. This isn't just one of those like single-player games where you expect a massive drop-off. This is one of those things that's supposed to live on for a long time that gets people...
Dude, it's kind of blatantly simple to see the cash grabs, though, nowadays, that are literally designed as, first of all, microtransaction havens, and games second of all. It's kind of blatantly easy to just, tell that something's going to be a live service absolute mess, and that, other things are good.
Hooked like heroin. But the only thing it got them hooked on was the idea of better games, because that shit is miserable. So that game has been largely a failure, and now Skull and Bones seems to be following suit, which is Ubisoft's latest super stinker, which is a...
All of this was 100% expected.
Ship.
And also, by the way, both of these studios that made these games are as woke as possible, okay? So, surprise, surprise, who would have expected? I know, everyone.
Combat game without boarding. So it takes out the most fun part about being a pirate, the boarding, and reduces it to just being a cutscene. Quadruple A my ass. Unless all of those...
It also makes that almost 50% of your crew on the ship are women. Which, who are gonna board, and they're shooting cannons and loading cannonballs and, all of those things that are really, really physically intensive. And, being on a dirty ship where they're definitely not gonna die from, infections and whatnot, because women require way more hygiene than men on average to literally not die because of biological reasons. So, 10 out of 10.
A's stand for different adjectives for how bad it is. Abominable, awful, abysmal, asinine. Like, it's so stupid to me how this game is out there right now in its beta or whatever for $70.
Yeah, I can't believe, actually. We did a video on this yesterday. We saw some gameplay. But when you loot something in that game, first of all, it opens an inventory where you can loot the stuff. So you loot the stuff, right? So you loot the stuff. Then in the middle, it shows you what loot you picked up. And then after that fades out, in the side, you also get a pop-up of the loot that you just looted. It's not enough that you click on what you looted. You need to be alerted in two different places what you just looted also. It is absolutely crazy.
When it doesn't even have boarding. Fucking Assassin's Creed Black Flag a decade ago has better ship combat and a lot more fun experience of being a pirate. It's crazy. I will not be playing Skull and Bones. I want to make it clear. I've only watched...
Yeah, but Ubisoft also was a less shitty company 10 years ago.
The streamers play it as well as the reviews on it, and I think it is in an inexcusably bad state. This is just blatant garbage that's being put out here for a quick payday and a big infusion of cash. I don't foresee them ever actually making this game good. I'll go ahead and put it on record here. We can check back in on this in 2 years if Skull and Bones happens to be the next biggest game on the planet. That's amazing. But I just don't see that happening, especially not with Ubisoft at the helm. It looks so painfully mediocre at best. The best compliment I've seen anyone give Skull and Bones is that it's mediocre. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's a blatant lie.
Imagine that? Paying $70 for mediocrity and doing it with a smile on your face? Because I can't. And you shouldn't accept it either. And this is where I get into the positive news. Where a lot of these games have increased their price and decreased their quality, the gap in the market has only widened for people hungry for actually good games. And that gap has been filled by smaller studios making smaller games. So like the $40 price tag games, for example. Those have been dominating 2024. Pal World breaking all of the records, basically. And now, most recently, Helldivers 2 having this amazing blow-up. Over 400,000 concurrent players right now for Helldivers 2, and it's only growing by the day.
It's not actually growing, and it's only 400k because they don't have the servers. More people want to play Helldivers than there is place to play Helldivers.
And Helldivers 2 is an amazing game. It's full of passion and fun. I think it's one of the best co-op experiences I've had since Lethal Company. And speaking of Lethal Company, that's another example to what I'm saying. Last year we saw Lethal Company come out and absolutely spank the cheeks of the gaming industry. Had it bent over their knee, disciplining them, showing them how it can be done if you just make a fun game. It's a cheap game made by a single developer, and it took the whole industry by storm for a while, and it's still popular to this day. So we're seeing these games pop up that aren't blockbusters by any means. They're not $100 million production, fucking 10 years in development hell. You know, these are...
We're seeing the most tried and true thing come true, and it always does. Make good game, people play good game. I know, shockingly hard, but it is true. And that always happens. There's no such thing as a bad game that is popular. Or, well, I mean, there are examples now of games that were good at the start now are bad and people are still playing them because, you know, nostalgia, commitment, and whatnot. But there's no such thing as a good game that's not popular because it's good. No. Good games become popular always.
Are games made by smaller teams that just deliver unique and fun experiences, and it shows how hungry gamers are for that kind of product. I've said for a while, the future of...
True. Dude, again, never underestimate the power of a bad game, how much it can actually help other games succeed. For example, Starfield is my favorite example for this. When Starfield came out, it was hyped, everyone knows it's gonna happen, and it comes out and it's shit. It's atrocious. No one wants to play it. And because of Starfield's absolutely unanimous complete destruction, games like... What? No Man's Sky, I forgot the name for a moment. No Man's Sky got a huge player boost because of Starfield's destruction. Because No Man's Sky actually fixed itself and made it into a decent game. Some would even argue a pretty good game. But yeah, Starfield's destruction pushed people back to Cyberpunk 2077 and No Man's Sky because people wanted a space experience game and people wanted a futuristic type of game and stuff like that. So people who wanted a space game went to No Man's Sky, and people who wanted, you know, a futuristic type of role-playing game or something like that, or open world game, went to Cyberpunk 2077. Now those games were doing decent because they made their comebacks, but Starfield's disaster pushed them just that much further over the edge, and they got so much more popular because of it. So, you know, a hyped game that's absolutely terrible, destroying itself, is gonna help so many other good games out always.
Gaming is not in more AAA titles that get more and more expensive to produce and spend more and more time in development. It's these games, these like AA games coming out that are cheaper, a lower price point, and still offering many hours worth of fun to players. And we're seeing that right now, and you're seeing how they're being rewarded with this level of success. And I think that is a great sign for things to come. I'm hoping this will start to push developers away from just, pumping out this formulaic by the numbers generic garbage like Suicide Squad, trying to capitalize off buzzword genres like live service nonsense, even though there's nothing in there that makes the game actually worth playing. Or most recently with Ubisoft just putting out the most bare bones pirate game ever just to try and capitalize off
I don't know. I think Ubisoft thinks that this is a home run dub.
that as well. I'm hoping companies will start to pay more attention to the success of these $40 games, these smaller games, and shift to that direction. Instead of spending 5 years developing a pile of mediocre garbage, why not spend a year or so?
Okay, so here's the reality of gaming, by the way. It doesn't matter. The tip double A, single A developers are not gonna save the gaming industry, okay? They don't create marvels upon marvels upon marvels. Second of all, the moment they succeed big enough, there's a chance they also join the ESG program, and there you have it. Now it's just another Ubisoft doing the things to satisfy the ESG score so they can get, $1 million in a reward or something like that, because that is 100% guaranteed money. There's no saving from this.
Developing something that's much smaller in scale, but tries to do something different that is just a fun game for maybe like 10, 15 hours even. You don't need a game that's going to keep a player hooked for like 80 hours plus by just delivering more escort missions like Suicide Squad aims to do. You can be satisfied by delivering like a $20 to $40 game that gives a player 15 hours worth of fun, and they're done with it by the end. That's totally fine. You get your money's worth, and that makes me excited. Now, granted, the 3 examples I've given of these massive games that are smaller teams, smaller price, Pal World, Helldivers 2, Lethal Company, those games have tons and tons and tons of hours worth of content in them for you to enjoy. But I still think there's nothing wrong if the industry shifts to making smaller games that are only like 15 hours worth of entertainment, as long as it's a really unique experience and it's fun to play. I think you will get your...
Saying only 15 hours of entertainment? What do you mean? Most AAA games now don't even have 20 hours of story in them on average. 15 hours of story is honestly not bad considering AAA, again, mostly delivers now less than 20 hours of story experience.
Your money's worth, and the price point being at that 20 to 40 range. Like, the $70 price tag should be reserved for the really meaningful titles, like a GTA 6 style thing. Obviously, that's the most extreme example. But when you see a $70 price tag for something, you're expecting the highest level of quality. But right now, when you see $70 or $60...
And what do you get? You get Diablo 4, baby.
It's you could be getting the worst game of the year. Fucking Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash is a $60 game right now. And that game is unforgivably awful. And I think it's good news that these AAA developers are not being rewarded for it. Like, again, Suicide Squad flopping, Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash, the most refunded game in history, I believe, according to one of the articles I read, which makes sense because anyone that bought that game actually got scammed. Actually, just completely full-blown blatant scam. So it makes sense everyone would be refunding it. Like, and Skull and Bones looking like it's going to be a flop. All of these big-budget productions that are being sold for $60 to $70 are not really turning a big profit for these companies. So I feel like they're going to start to pay a lot more attention to the smaller budget titles and the titles that they can actually do more with, because you won't need to invest years upon years of development time to it. You instead just need to invest into a good idea and a passionate team that can deliver something fun for a reasonable price. Like, it's that simple. And we're seeing this proven time and time again now, more often now than ever. So I actually like the direction the gaming industry is going right now, because we're rewarding some of the more unique titles, the more fun titles like the Helldivers.
I don't know if that's true. I don't believe that's true. Again, it's like old school music. You know what they say? You know what's strange about old school music? All the songs are really good, right? Most of the songs of old school music are somehow magically really good. That's because that's because no one listens to the bad songs. Everyone just listens to the good songs. And this creates this false perception that, wow, maybe music previously was really good. No, it wasn't. it had so many stinkers it wasn't even funny, okay? We just have kept all the good stuff. And this is the same thing that happens with gaming. The double A and single A games, bruh, okay? They're not special. There's like a billion of them that fail. There's more double A games that fail than succeed. There's more indie games that fail than succeed. It's just the way things are. It's reality.
Like, it's nice to see that. Recently, the most popular games haven't been dominated by AAA blockbusters just bullying indie titles or anything. It's actually been the smaller studios, the smaller, cheaper games that are annihilating the big boys on the block. And I just think that's great. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah, that's true. But it makes sense. Again, like, Skull and Bones is not a game. It is a microtransaction cesspit to begin with, and the game is built around it. Diablo 4, pretty much the same thing, honestly, right? And, well, so many more examples of this. The Suicide Squad killed Justice League. These are not games. They're fundamentally just microtransaction hell pits that a game was built around.
If this trend continues throughout 2024, it's still very early. We haven't seen the biggest heavy hitters of 2024 come out yet. So I guess that remains to be seen how exactly it's all going to shape up. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit because it put a smile on my face seeing the success of Helldivers today. Helldivers was really like the catalyst that made me want to talk about it because I really love everything they've done with that game. And I love to see a game like that being rewarded in the way that it is. And I hope we see more things like it throughout the year and just generally in the future of gaming. I really hope we can start getting away from all of these massive $100 million games that just are soulless, just cash grabs. And
I think nothing's gonna change. I think I agree with what he's saying, by the way, technically to a degree, but at the same time, it's like it has been like this forever. AAA games have not always been good. There have always been bad AAA games. It is what it is, and everything else is just like okay. Now it's just AAA games are kind of getting slightly worse to a degree because some games are literally designed to be microtransactions first and games second. So it is what it is. In any case, this was Quizzer Said, and thanks for watching. That was Moist Critical, the H-Man. And have a nice day. Bye-bye.